Critics of all the congestion say it's not just the multiple road construction projects. Tens of thousands of drivers sitting in traffic are seeing these billboards, which read, "Stuck in traffic, blame Dayton's Met Council." WCCO chief political reporter Pat Kessler looked into that part of the story. Pat, you got to blame somebody. Why not Dayton's Met Council?
Yeah, and you see these hundreds of thousands of drivers all around the Twin Cities, and these billboards are up, very colorful. They are the work of a conservative think tank called the Center of the American Experiment. And a lot of people sitting in traffic had a lot of time to read them, and people are very frustrated when they're sitting in traffic. But what the Center of the American Experiment says is that the state of Minnesota has spent too much money on things like light rail transit, bicycle lanes, and not enough money on. The Met Council says, come on now, you have to do something in the future. But that's their main point, the Center of the American Experiment, and they're advocating for more highway lanes and fewer trains, fewer light rail trains.
Pat, what are you hearing from the Met Council? I know a spokesperson called the billboard illogical.
Yeah, they're saying this is illogical because you've got to have multimodal. We have 1 million more people than we did 25 years ago in the Twin Cities. And they say you've got to have a whole bunch of different ways to go, including buses, including light rail transit. And yes, you got to have highways too, because most people use their cars. But the center says that people now spend 47 hours a year sitting in traffic. Think about that, in congestion. I spent 47 hours on my way to WCCO headquarters in Minneapolis yesterday, just sitting in that traffic. It was crazy.
Well, Pat, it seems that the public discussion about transportation funding often is focused on transit. But what's the reality? We talk about transit, we talk about light rail, trying to get that money. What's the reality as far as what we actually spend on roads? That doesn't get the headlines as much.
Yeah, it's a really good question, because although the new light rail project is very expensive, Minnesota spends $3 billion a year on transportation, and $1 billion of that goes just to roads and bridges. A very small amount goes to light rail transit. We talked to the people in Minneapolis who say most millennials, most employees, most people who live downtown, a lot of these folks use light rail transit and use buses. As a matter of fact, we talked to a guy yesterday at the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce. He told us 40% of all the workers downtown Minneapolis use light rail or buses. So they believe that is the future, not more highway traffic lanes.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
We're looking for your feedback on this, especially on the traffic in downtown Minneapolis. What do you think the problem is? Should we build more lanes of highway, or would more light rail, more transit options get people out of their cars and using that? Send your thoughts by going to WCCO.com/Facebook or talk with us on Twitter.
You got to admit, putting a traffic billboard as people are stuck in traffic.
Pretty good idea.
Pretty good idea.
Pretty good idea, for sure.
It wasn't bad today, though, thankfully. I think people are getting ready for the holiday weekend.
Yes.
It was like, good, please, everybody leave.
Take 5 days off. It's fine. Take the next week.
Kathy said the problem is every road in the cities is under construction, even small roads in the suburbs. It's a nightmare everywhere you go. If there was more mass transit, we would have more options. That is not an exaggeration. Literally every road is under construction.
Dallas says, Pat Kessler said it. 40% of those working downtown use public transit, and that leaves around 60% who drive. So more money should go to more lanes.
Pat said that more money is going to roads than transit. Marla says, where exactly would they put added highways in downtown Minneapolis? Where would they park the added cars? What buildings would need to be torn down? And where would those businesses, residents go? Some people just aren't happy unless they have something to complain about.
And Marshall says the problem in downtown itself, the streets are never in a state of completion. There's constant construction going on somewhere. Thanks for your feedback. You can always count on people to talk about the traffic.
That is
no
for
problem
sure.
there.